Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Akoya and I make lifestyle, homemaking, and motherhood videos here on YouTube. Today we are talking all about postpartum, being a newly postpartum mom, and I'm going to be giving you some of my best tips and reminders, things I wish I knew going into that postpartum season. So if that relates to you or you're looking at that season coming up, you have a friend maybe in the postpartum season, this video is for you. I hope it blesses you and encourages you. So let's jump right in. First things first, I want to say congratulations, and you are enough. You are the perfect mom for this baby. You are the perfect wife for your husband. You are enough. And what you are doing is enough, okay? I feel like the enemy is always coming and trying to make you feel like you need to do more, push harder, entertain your baby better, make them not cry as much. And you're just always combating this feeling of not being enough. And God's grace says that you are enough. So remind yourself of that. Don't let those lies build into tensions, okay? Now, to build on this, I want to remind you that you're not going to know everything, and that's okay. Being a first-time mom, for sure, there is so much you're going to be learning, so many things that are going to happen. Your baby's going to sniffle or sneeze, their poop's going to look a certain way, and you're going to be Googling it, like, is this normal? Is this okay? Calling your best friend. And let me just tell you, it's okay to not know everything. You don't even need to Google everything. You will know in your heart of hearts when it is an emergency, okay? When it is like life or death, and then you'll know when you're just curious. So don't keep yourself up at night about all the unknowns, all the things you don't know. It will come with time. I can tell you as a third-time mom that I still don't know everything, but the beautiful thing about being on my third baby is I know more. I remember more. Some things are just like, oh yeah, I remember that happening, and like, this is a phase, this will pass. That's not as big of a deal, and you become like that. So if you're watching really experienced moms on YouTube, Instagram, whatever, and you're like, my life is not like that, I don't feel like that, I could never do that, just remember they probably didn't start there. They have learned as they went, and they're able to add more and learn more, and some of the more, I guess, to you, they will start to become more obvious things you won't have to think about as much, but you don't need to know it all right away. Sometimes your baby just cries, okay? This was a really hard one for me. I never wanted my baby to cry. I felt like that was me being a bad mom. It was a reflection of my care for them, and that's just not true. Babies cry to communicate. I've seen videos on YouTube where you can see like different cries your baby will allow and how they're saying different things. And I do believe that that's true. They're communicating and they do have different cries, which you will learn. But at a certain point, they're just crying because they're upset. You know, there's nothing that will console them. And a big thing about this is they are probably learning something new, and it can be a little scary and overwhelming, and they're just not sure. I mean, we all have days when we're just a little more grumpy. We're not feeling the way we normally feel. Something seems a little off, and we're just having a hard time. Babies are humans. They're small humans, young humans. They're still learning, and they don't know how to say, yeah, I'm just having an off day. I'm feeling out of sorts today. Something big is happening in my brain, and I don't know what to do with that information. So they cry. And one of the ways that I've found to make this less fight or flight for myself is to look up the Wonder Weeks. There are different leaps happening. So if you look up baby leaps by week or something, I'll try to leave a link in the description. If I forget, just leave a comment if you're wondering more about it, and let me know if you've looked at them and they've helped you. But the Wonder Weeks talk about these leaps where your baby is going through these really big developmental things, like being able to see farther or hear sounds or see how a sequence plays out. And these things can really contribute to your baby being more fussy because it's a new thing they're learning, a new skill right before they walk, right before they crawl. And you'll see a lot more of the fussiness in that beginning part, and it'll be really hard. You're wondering why they're inconsolable and not on routine like they were. And a lot of things just aren't going right. And normally it happens when you feel like, oh, we've had this nice stretch and I'm crushing it as a mom and we've got a routine and a system and I know what they like and everything's going so smooth and you're in this like high on life, and all of a sudden it just comes crashing down and you're like, what in the world? What has possessed my child? And it's really just a leap. So that can help. You can see exactly when to anticipate them to help yourself feel a little bit more calm about it and understand that it's not you, it's them learning these new things, and it's actually very exciting and you can really change your mindset on it. So I'll leave a link to those articles below if you're experiencing that. I know especially in the first 2 months, 3 months, there's a lot of leaps really fast and it can feel like you're running on a hamster wheel. So that really helped me. And I learned about those the end of my first baby. And by second and third, I already knew when those things were coming on. I'm like, bet they're in a leap. And would look it up, confirm, see what scale. And then you'd see the scale that they come out with at the end. It'd be really exciting and really motivating to help you go on. Another thing for you newly postpartum moms that you might not have been anticipating is that tasks that at one time seemed so simple no longer feel simple. They seem overwhelming, out of reach. I mean, just to take a shower or brush your teeth can seem so overwhelming. Now, part of these things can be if you are having like depression or postpartum anxiety and things, but it's also a bit normal as you're learning all these new things and your body's trying to heal and all this stuff is happening and you're trying to say, cook a meal. Well, you've never had to cook a meal with a little baby who needed you and be interrupted by maybe they're crying or they just want to be held. And now you're trying to cook a meal, which seems so normal, but you're holding a baby, which seems essentially very simple and fun, but now your arms are way out here and you're cooking with your hands so far away from you and someone's touching you the whole time. And these new sensory things can become overwhelming, especially when you're not getting a lot of sleep. And you just have to realize that it's okay. It is totally okay. And we all go through these things, and different people will be I don't even want to say bothered, but will just be more sensitive to different things. So for some of you, it might be a sound makes it harder to concentrate, or being touched so much. You're just not used to that much touching, and it's not as much of a joy as you thought it would be. And the thing is, you just need to grant yourself grace in that you can be different than what you expected. Motherhood can be different than what you expected. Doing these tasks can be different than what you expected. People on YouTube make it look way easier than it really is sometimes because it's a small glimpse into their life. You're not realizing what's going through their mind. I even look back at videos that I have posted and I'm like, I remember that day and it just was not as calm feeling as the video portrays, although that is exactly what I did in the day and how these things went about, but my mind was working on a lot of other things and there was a lot of other stuff going on that you, as the viewer, as my friends, are not seeing. So just remember that some things can seem a little bit bigger and they will become easier with repetition. Changing a diaper eventually becomes something you do without even thinking. You're barely even having to look at it. It's just a thing. Snapping the onesie, zipping it up, loading your kid into the car. You eventually automate those processes and your brain can go through them very quickly. I even wrote on here, simple tasks are no longer feel simple, and each time you do something, you get better at it. Like, this is a very important thing to remember, and that's how you start to get to do things like going to TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Target, all these places. You don't just start going to every single one of those all the time. You go to one and you do that trip multiple times and you get good at it. You get good at loading the kids. Maybe you just load the kids, drive around the block, come back, unload. You go to drive-through coffee place because that's a fast line at a not, busy time when you're going to be able to just pull up to the window and go home. Like, you just build on those things, and as you get better at them and more confident, you expand. The same with cooking, cleaning, everything for your home and activities. Now, I think it's also important to remember as a postpartum mom, you feel like there's so much weight on you. You're in charge of consoling this baby. You are, if you're a breastfeeding mom, you are their sole provider of food, and it can feel very much like you are carrying the full burden. Now, I don't believe that that is true, but it does feel that way. And it can be true if you shut everyone out and you don't allow other people, especially your husband, to help and to be let in on those struggles. So some of the things that I like to suggest are that you do ask for help. You know, this is something, if you aren't postpartum yet, you could already be saying like, hey, when I'm postpartum, things that I'm thinking might be helpful would be if you could help with changing the baby's diapers, making sure my water is filled up, and you could even write like a little list of some things. Like, these are a few things that I'm thinking would be really important. I was watching some YouTube videos and all the moms are saying these are things that they really appreciate. And so I thought I'd write them down while I have a little more time in my brain. You know, these are things that I appreciate being done. The dishes are loaded into the dishwasher, or the dishwasher started before we go to bed. You know, that I have a water beside my bed, that all the garbages get taken out. You know, like maybe there's just a few things that, you know, you and your husband do, or just you do, but you know might be more difficult for that first month or 2 months as your body's healing. And it's great to ask your husband. They like to know, how can they help? How can they fix things? And so if you can give them something, but not micromanage. So if you ask them to take out the garbage, you don't tell them when, how, where, what to do with the garbage, where to put the garbage bag, how to tie it. You don't do that. You just say, hey, I'd appreciate if you took them out. You know, this is the day it goes out. Now, maybe your husband already does that, but I'm just using that as a thing that you could say. If he has a few questions, you can give it to him. You could say, would it help if I write it down so you don't have to ask me? So you don't feel you need to ask me? Because really you're trying to reduce the mental load. It's not just the physical load, it's the mental load of it. So you want to, you know, say it, leave it, forget it. But also, like, if your baby is unconsolable and your husband offers to hold them, don't be like, no, you can't do it, especially if you're feeling tense and stressed. Be like, sure, here you go. You know, and if they ask if you've tried all these things, don't get offended that they're asking. They're just asking. They probably weren't paying attention, and that's good. It helps them stay calm, okay? So let them have that baby and cuddle them and take them outside, or maybe they want to bounce them a little more than you would have bounced them. That's the thing about dads. They're different. They have different ideas and a different way of communicating and interacting with your children. And as they get older, you'll really start to see it, but it can be kind of hard to let go of that control, especially when they're so new. But it is so incredibly important. And the more you allow your husband the opportunity to serve you and your family in that way, the more willing he becomes to serve and help your family in those ways. And I'm telling you this as an experienced mom who was like, no, I've got this, I can handle this, and would kind of fight my husband tooth and nail about doing things, even though I was beyond maxed out and honestly couldn't handle the amount of pressure on me. And he was being the exact thing I needed, and I was not allowing him to do that and fulfill that role. So now back to being a little sleep deprived, and that can also make it more difficult for your brain to function well. Another thing though, sleep, you're going to try your best, you know, sleep when you can. That's not always easy, but another way that you can help your body and your mind is to nourish your body well, not to be eating junk food, not to be eating processed food, sugar, and things like that. You need to be eating whole foods, healthy foods, foods with lots of vitamins and minerals, and just good, wholesome foods that are going to fuel your body, create great breast milk for your child, and replenish you, because your body is going to create the best thing for that baby, and it does not care. It doesn't care how you're doing. you're second on the totem pole, and that's the way God designed it. So we're going to love that. But that means we need to really concentrate on nutrition. So nourishing your body is going to be very important. That's also going to help you heal, help you get better sleep, help feed your body, and help feed your mind. And one of the things, I have a book that I really like for pregnancy nutrition. It's a little countercultural on the whole food industry and what's good for you, but I truly believe that it is the best way to nourish your body in pregnancy. And there's a good section of it that talks about postpartum. And if you follow a lot of the pregnancy things through postpartum, especially as a breastfeeding mom, but even if you're not breastfeeding, to heal your body after labor and delivery and all of that stress it went under, I just truly believe it's absolutely amazing, a very easy read. You can implement things. I refer back to it all the time now, and my oldest is 5. I found out about this when he was about 1 year old, and I'm telling you, it really changed me. It changed my health and my perspective on health as a new mom. It's very easy. You can implement one thing at a time, because I know as a new mom, it can be very overwhelming to start something new, but I'm telling you, this is so simple. Just skip to the postpartum section, start there, and then work back. I'll leave the link to that book below. And then 2 more things here. I would say get in a mom's group or start one. That can seem really overwhelming as a new mom, so don't feel pressured to, but also don't feel bad about wanting to start one. I mean, talk to someone at your church, say, hey, I'd like to start a mom's group. Or maybe you have a friend who, has kids or is about to have a kid, and you say, hey, I want to start a mom's group. Let's meet once a week, Tuesday, 9 a.m. And then you say and invite a friend, and we can meet at your house. Or if that's overwhelming, at a park or a little coffee shop, or maybe the Chick-fil-A has a park thing in it, and you can meet there, and you just set this date that's once a week. Maybe it's once every other week, like the first and third Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. You're going to meet, invite whoever you want. You just show up, you visit for 2 hours, and you go home. But something that gets you with other moms, other people who are in a similar season as you, who have recently been in it or coming into it, and you can just encourage each other, because sometimes you just need to hear someone else say they're experiencing the same thing, and all of a sudden this thing that seemed so heavy and so draining becomes so light, because it's normal and you feel normal, and not like you're crazy and you're losing your mind, but like, oh my gosh, I just have a little baby, and that's so amazing. And this thing that was becoming an ungrateful cycle in your brain is now rewriting back to a grateful, thankful, so blessed type of mindset, and you are giving yourself grace again, and you're feeling like you're enough. And then the final thing I want to tell you is to pray. Pray, pray, pray. When you don't know what to do, pray. When you do know what to do, pray. When you're grateful, pray. When you're unhappy, pray. When you are confused or sad or overwhelmed, pray. When you are so joyous and you feel like you're on top of the world, pray. Talk to God continuously and build it into your routine. Now, I have seen so many YouTube videos about the 5 a.m. wake up and all these things, but as a mom who's been breastfeeding pretty much for 5 years straight, I wake up multiple times in the night to take care of my baby. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying that there are many ways to hear from God and many ways to have a routine where you are focusing less on yourself and more on others and having a gratitude heart. And I think prayer say, well, breastfeeding. You're breastfeeding your baby instead of going on your phone, scrolling Instagram, Facebook, YouTube shorts, whatever, watching all these videos that make you compare and feel less than. You put away your phone. You don't worry about it. You say, okay, it's time to feed my baby. And then you just have a prayer time. You talk about your day. You thank God for all the things that have happened. You pray over the things you're unsure of. You pray for the future of your child, for yourself as a mother, as a wife, all of these things, for your friends. I know in the hardest of hard times, in that first month specifically, and the first 3 months really, as I was trying to get my first baby a little more sleep trained like on a bit of a schedule so I could get some rest. It was so difficult. And when I'd be having these difficult times, I would just stop and I would start praying for the other moms who were going through that same experience and just shifting my focus to someone else's struggles automatically made mine seem so much smaller and God seemed bigger and I just felt more at peace. I maybe was not doing 100% in the moment. I was still having a hard time, but it just helped me to realize that what I was doing was important and other moms were doing the same thing, trying to console a baby who was inconsolable, just trying to love on their child the best that they could. And another thing is you could just pray for the mom of that child's significant other, the mom, the parents, the child that your child will eventually marry. Like you could pray for them. It's just a really good way to think outside of the current moment you're in and have a little bit more of a full circle thing and get you out of that rut and the negative mindset and back into a more positive, trusting mindset. And when you get in the negative things, again, remember you are enough and you are worth it. Grant yourself that grace, give yourself mercy. You are learning, you're evolving. God is training us up to be the right kind of mom, the right person for our husband, the right parent for our children. And that's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take time and it is a blessing and you have got this. So I hope this video really helped you today. It gave you some encouragement. You're feeling a little more motivated. You've got a few tools in your back pocket to, get you feeling a little more confident in this new role of being a mom. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below any topics you would like me to speak about in upcoming long form. I have a lot of short form videos on planning and different homemaking tasks. And as always, it is so good to see you and I hope you have the most blessed week. Bye for now.